We'll call the Wednesday, December 13th, 2023 meeting of the Monona Park and Rec Board to order. You've noted the role, everybody's here except for Patrick, who had a business obligations. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October 18th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any changes? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried, the minutes are approved. Did you want to do the closed session first or do the
We could do the truck.
truck first? I'm
Yep.
sorry. 5A new business discussion and recommendation of a 2024 Parks truck purchase.
So this is an item that was brought before the committee as part of the capital budget process, approved at the council level, and now this is just a recommendation to move ahead and place the order for the Parks truck. So this is replacing one of our oldest pickup trucks. It will have a snowplow on it so we'll have 2 trucks available to do parking lots. Anticipation of having a 10-foot wide head path in Winnequa Park that would also then be allowed to use a truck instead of our smaller equipment. And we would be putting this on city council agenda on Monday, one read to get it ordered and hopefully in by the summer season.
It'll require a budget amendment, right? Because it's 50,000.
No, that
Did we change? We
Yeah, it
fixed
got
that.
changed.
that one got
That's
changed to,
right. Yeah,
what
to 75.
the actual was.
65.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or a motion?
So Jake, with the manual air conditioning, is that you have windows that you can roll down?
I think they do. Does it say, does it say manual?
Yeah, it says under interior manual air conditioning. I have a feeling it's buttons that you.
I think
turn
it's-
and press.
Push a button.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
A lot of them are like with the actual like turn buttons instead of,
Right.
yeah. Give them too comfy of conditions and, summer or winter, then they wanna,
I prefer that.
yeah,
Huh?
I like having that too, yeah.
And this is the F-250, right?
Yep.
So an electric wasn't ever an option because of they don't make them.
No, and we had talked about that, the challenge right now, without having a dedicated home for our vehicles, with having an electric vehicle, is that the battery would be out 24/7, 365, which we get concerned about, like the lifespan, so.
No, we don't have a good designated charging port place to hook it in currently.
And with the 4-wheel drive with, snow.
Yeah.
We had put in a proposal for a hybrid minivan, I think they got pulled, for pool. And I think when we did the comparison, see Stephen on the F-150, which would be coming up. That one we would probably propose in 2025 because we have a 2015 Chevy 1500 that could potentially be an electric truck. You gotta get through that chart, where to charge it, and if by that time we're building a new fire police station and there's an underground garage with charging stations, that would be a perfect time to start to put some of those in for parks.
All right.
I'd move to approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 5B is convening closed session under Wisconsin statute section 1985 sub 1 sub E. Deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds. Or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is about the Maywood School Facility Use Agreement. Is there a motion to go into closed session? Second. Required to call the rolls. Except to call them.
We have to have each person go.
Yes.
I'm going into closed session.
Yeah.
Oh, committee member, oh,
Present.
No, aye. Aye or nay.
I will be going,
Okay.
committee member, Evan. Aye. Member,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
Kelly,
Aye.
Tony. Rachel.
Aye. Aye.
All right, we're gonna pause recording. You'll still be on the Zoom and then we'll close the door here until.
Okay, does someone want to move to go out of closed session?
move to go out of session.
Is there a second? All in favor to say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're back in the open session. Yeah, weirdly, this it's not require people to go out of closed session. What's we got? Work.
Packet.
5D is 2024 Parks and Rec Work Plan discussion.
I'm gonna pull that down, I see your set the paper on that. I'll just go down to that agenda item that's got the list, so in the packet, we just kind of. Put together what administratively we're looking at for this year for some goals for the department. Got a couple big things, obviously with Maywood, and then just from an organizational. You know, chart and where we're at and the services that we have for the community. So just, I think everyone's aware of it on this committee, that the council has approved some studies that are being done in an effort to anticipate having a referendum question, 2 referendum questions this fall. One would be to exceed our levy limits, and that we have a compensation study out for existing staff of areas that we have some challenges in attracting and retaining staff based on pay. And I think that study will be out and kind of demonstrate where we're at as compared to other cities. And then there's also an issue of the number of staff that we have in various departments versus the demands of those that we have, i.e. parks, and other areas of, and so that would be 2 components of an operational referendum along with non-personnel. So one of the things we talk about are like contracted services, and in capital, now that the Travers aren't doing Woodland Park, where we have stuff in the capital, well, we are paying interest on those contracts. And so those type of things we would be looking at in a referendum as well operationally. So that's one question. Do you want to approve this? And it's going to be X amount of increase in your taxes, whatever that may be. The other one would be to support whatever the cost of a new public safety, police, fire, city hall building would be. So the results of those, on whether those gets approved or not, will define what each of the departments can and cannot do, because if it doesn't pass, there may be major cuts to service, and each department will probably have to burden some of that, pain, so to speak. What we need to do as a department in the meantime is kind of really start to hone in on what we do and what our priorities are and how we go about doing that. And so when we get can you guys do a splash pad this year, or whatever question it may be, we can look and actually have some metrics of data of saying, well, in the park and open space plan, this has been identified as an improvement. In the latest recreational needs survey, which we haven't done for probably 10 years, we don't show that as being a high demand, or that is a high demand for us to offer that as a service to the community. And does it fit within the priorities of the department? And so we've talked about this a lot internally, and it's almost to the point of having these mini strategic plan sessions about who we are, where are we spending our time, what are we good at, what are we not so good at? Are we duplicating services from other departments? Do we combine some services with other departments? How do we interact with our internal customers and our external customers? How do we support events in the community, both internal, different departments and external? How much time is that? And where we go. So this is just kind of a quick list of things that I anticipate administration working on. The needs study will be, you know, hopefully just an annual thing in the sweet spot of a survey of getting decent information, but not making it too long and people cut out of it and do it. We do a lot of surveys in Monona, but we do want to have some data.
I feel like we did do one in the past few years. No,
I mean, it's part of like the
20
park and open space plan that we did
2020.
the survey that had touched on some recreational needs, but in 2020.
2020 was our last.
You know,
program, yeah. Where it did have that survey, where pickleball scored very low, but we all know in reality, it's actually very high, so.
Right, yeah.
So like 2020, it wasn't around, and then here we go, so we do need to update.
We're kind of at that 5-year period of where the city website and the contract that we have with our provider is up for a remodel. And we're anticipating having a standalone website for Park and Rec at that point, so that's gonna be a lot of work on our end to migrate over those pages. And with us, with the pool, with the ice rink, with the services, sometimes it's easy to get lost on the city website and trying to figure out what you want. The special events ordinance and policy and application, this was their first season of kind of going through it. And mixed results on, like, you know, did it work okay? Did we need to, so we gotta tweak some things on application and policy and when we slot these things in. And we also have a question about, like, we just got a new one for another race on the same weekend as the fall festival for next year. How many is too many? You know, like, how do we put on event organizers better notification of our residents? How do we make sure that the impact, is there a financial impact to benefit our residents or our Monona groups more than what it might be doing now? So there's some more questions that come up about how we can.
How do new organizations that aren't starting and stopping in Monona even know to notify us? Cause that
Right.
seems to be an issue, like utilizing Bike Path City Street as a come through. Well, Chief Cheney has noted multiple issues and times on traffic patterns, and if we don't even know, so how do we reach out to those that are even a potential of a Madison race and coming in and using our cities? And then how does it not only affect our residents, but how do we reap some of the benefits financially from these big races that are coming in our events? That's a big one that we're trying to.
So that's on the,
Madison Marathon almost, sorry, did not even notify us that they were coming in through the town. We only, as a city, happened to know that it was coming through because some of our city employees signed up for the race. 5,000 people through the city of Monona, and they almost did not even notify us that they were having a race. Like,
but they did, and they did go through the
Yes,
process.
after, but
and
prior,
after,
so finding out prior versus after, so how do we reach out and make that work?
The city has an ad hoc committee on DEIB, and that's got some recommendations that will have some staff recommendations or staff input. Eventually the council will accept it, and we kind of have to evaluate and define what that looks like in both DEI and sustainability initiatives. And a reporting structure and what success looks like and how we can maybe do a better job of providing metrics. We do already a lot for both, and we maybe don't always highlight what we're doing at our different facilities to support those measures. So I do think that's gonna be a goal for us this year, is to look at that and figure out how we can better report out and what metrics define success as part of this report and what we can do and maybe what we need that we can't do. The tree and bench donation, like it's kind of exploded. We've had a lot of interest in the last couple of years in the bench program, and almost all of our existing benches have donors and plaques, and the tree program, and we've had some interesting developments in organizations that have really brought a large amount of more trees and planting locations and opportunities for engagement with people. And so we have a loose program that we've been working off, and we probably need to kind of figure that out a little bit more on, you know, how long does a tree plaque last, and if we have to cut down a tree or move a tree moving forward. Our canoe kayak storage program is always a good one to look at and decide on structure, fees, locations. As we look at what our priorities are, and internally, we kind of looked at, you know, we have kind of our top 5, and those do include some of our facilities that we can provide programs and services at for the widest range of people and demographics. And one of those is Grand Crossing Park. And so maybe we need to move that location to a different location because there's some seating arrangements and things that happen. So that we will be providing kind of a recommendation and discussion. You know, should the lower spots cost more? Should only canoes be on the lower spots? Should, you know, we have a lottery system every 3 years to get at Frostwoods Beach? Should we add more racks? You know, like there's just a lot of talk about that. I do feel overall we've met the community need for the number of rack spots available, but maybe those kind of discussions about what happens when one gets stolen, what happens, you know, what happens when one gets damaged. You know, we do have those in there, but we want to talk about that this year. So as I age, I find myself asking a lot more questions to staff on technology and how we utilize certain things and how we can't delete this thing. We have so staff training and utilization of Microsoft Teams for how we do all of our workflow. That's more behind the scenes, but that's going to take a lot of time tracking and how we can go cross board just citywide. We haven't had a license for all employees, and so like our park staff have a tablet that they can have on internet, but they don't have a Teams account, so we couldn't just keep like tracking of, you know, repairs that need to be done in an easy fashion. It ends up being text messages and emails, and did we get that done? Did we not get that done? How we can use AI for communication marketing program evaluation. We're already using it. Missy's using it. I have no idea. I've never done chat GPTQ or whatever it is. But that's kind of a trend in how we can be more efficient, how we can be utilizing technology that's available to us. We have a lot of different apps and software programs for marketing, communication, design, timekeeping. It's just a lot of different apps and trying to keep track of it. And, you know, Missy and Jessica with their staff do a great job of it. But refresher training. We've got capital projects this year, the main one being our Winneco Park pedestrian plan. So if you've seen, we've had some survey work started already, topography. So that's the topo study, which will be kind of the base layer of consultant work. So we would anticipate hopefully maybe the January meeting or February, we'd have kind of the base, you know, version of what our conceptual plan is and a prettier document to review. The goal is to still get that out to bid late February, early March, and have construction project mid-August through mid-October.
The neighbor over by Fireman's Park wants to meet with me. Chris reached out again. Sure, we tried to do that before and we never got together, so. Sure, I mean, the guy with the.
Yes.
That backs up to the driveway.
And then just the typical how we get starting to identify. So those are things as this month and next month, as you see, looking at our past CIP. This is a good time to kind of have those discussions operationally, if there's things that you want to start to, you know, focus on. And, you know, we we've never really had an official mission statement and goals, but as we look towards a referendum, I think kind of having a clear vision of what our department does, how it is organized, what the effect of approving a referendum, because we will have positions that we've recommended that would be part of this referendum on top of what we've already talked about. And those are for maintaining the existing facilities that we have now, and kind of the backlog of deferred maintenance that may or may not get done, the seaweed at Wild Haven, the weeding at, there's certain things we all see, and I see them too, about things that are like, I wish Jake's team could get that done. I do too. But we have to prioritize on certain things. And I think part of what we do, we can't campaign as a department on a referendum, but what we can do is educate and highlight what we do and maybe put some more data to the number of hours it takes to do certain activities and tasks. Because I do believe that I think a lot of people will just assume that we're asking for additional positions because we purchased San Damiano and we have now this new facility, and that's just not the case. We have had needs of, an ice rink and a new park before San Damiano, and a bunch of new shelters and playgrounds and more people using our parks and more events. And so we want to be able to kind of highlight that story and tell the story of who we are and what we do in a way that is easy to understand for the residents. And at least kind of talks about who we are. So we kind of have to have that mission statement and goals. So it's something good to maybe think about from this committee too, about I'm not the best with them. It's like, Parks and Rec, it's essential, it'd be something simple, but it might be good to drive in some of those conversations. So didn't want to make it too in depth. Sorry guys for talking a lot. I'm excited. I haven't had a lot of time to socialize.
Actually, Jake, I was kind of stunned. I was thinking, my wife will say, well, how's Jake doing? Low energy, he's not forward thinking. Not really be into it anymore.
No, the switch is turned from last week.
Yeah,
It's on back.
They got a lot of reprieve from, they're just checked in from, driving around or walking in through, and then now the juices are flowing. So
It's the best thing of the week.
if there are things, I didn't put in kind of all the task list of things that need to just get fixed or broken or we certainly have those in the parks, and really the challenge is we start looking at the things that I'd be like, we need to do this, we need to do that, it'd be nice to do this. They a lot of times fall within probably a 6-week time period of when they need to get done. And that just so happens that's during late April to the end of May, when we are, the whole city starts to, turn back on and getting the pool up and running. And so there are some things that are just time sensitive of when we should be, slit seeding grass or adding grass seed, for example, or doing work on our ball diamonds, or fixing this, that, or the other. But from a kind of goals and objective standpoint, administration, having new staff come on, potentially having this new facility. If we have a referendum pass, we'd be looking at, positions, changes, organizational, what we're trying to look at is how can I get Missy to not work 70 hours a week, May through September? How can I have Jessica Walsh not have teenagers, texting her till 11 o'clock at night about the ice rink, and how can organizationally we provide a better work balance for our staff and for people coming in. We do love to be able to say that this is a great place to live, work, and play, and I do believe that, but I also look at the amount of effort that it takes from a couple key people. And it's a lot, and we need to kind of have that discussion with our residents about what that takes to have a pool that's open all the time, that doesn't have issues, and that there is a side of people that we have to take care of too. And we have to figure out, organizationally, how we can do that. And it does get, to Rachel's point about seasonal staff or hiring staff. Our staff across the board has gotten younger and younger and younger. And that is a new set of challenges, especially with high school students, on how we communicate and how we provide feedback and how that's taken, and maybe we, you know, we all talked about it within our divisions of responsibilities. Our biggest challenge is the people, you know, like, and I found that we all, you know, the pool, the parks, you know, we all have staff that report directly to us, and that just takes time. It takes more time than what we would like, given everything else that we have to do it well, because what we found is sometimes it's like we continue to have the same conversation, or we notice the same things, or the challenges that we might have with training and customer service that we might have not have had before, and maybe that's starting to be a generational thing with screens or whatever, but it's just harder for people to get into a mode of like, when I come to the front desk of the pool, I would expect someone to smile and say, welcome to the Monona Community Pool, you know, give a season pass, and sometimes it's not that, and we need to work to pull that out of our younger staff. And I'm like, well, we have like a pretty good example of a leader, of a exuberant, outgoing personality, and how we have the expectation. So those are all things that we'd like to work on. And if there's anything that you guys have on the top of your head or think about for next meeting as part of that, you know, love to hear. I will probably detail out in next month's reporting what I anticipate operationally that we have on the docket. I just don't want to like commit ourselves to something in writing, and we may or may not get to it because the list tends to stay big.
It's a lot.
I'll be quiet. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get to all this. I would hope, I'd like to dream a little bit bigger than maybe what we might be able to accomplish, but I do think there are some things in there that definitely have to be done, some things that we'd like to do. And I think it's gonna be a pretty good year, and hopefully we can kind of highlight what we do. I think Missy's been doing a great job. If you've been following our social pages with the highlight of the ice rink and kind of the.
If you're not following us on social media, make sure you are. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, we're on them all.
So knowing what you know going into fall, maybe you guys, if you haven't already thought about this, be sure and take tons of pictures, and not just of the kids having fun in the pool, like of, you know, Joe digging tree stumps out, of the stuff you wouldn't normally take pictures of.
Yeah,
Because if you're gonna tell that story, you're gonna want,
the whole picture.
yes, and
Great.
we all have our phones on us, so
Right,
be sure
Yeah.
and snap.
thank you. That's a great idea.
At department head meeting, Will Nimmo will be snapping a lot of those pictures. He set up meetings with each of us, or has an agenda to do that, and then take all the pictures and kind of write that story from a same perspective lens to have the same marketing back from behind all of them, so has the same factual information. We cannot campaign, we have to be factual.
Understood.
But I'm sure there will be a group forming to, you know, to support the referendum outside of the city. So. So. And that will be next November, not in the spring, but
Yeah.
the general, so.
24 presidential election.
Yeah. It might be overshadowed.
94% turnout. We will definitely get an answer that's probably valid based on turnout.
Anybody have any questions on this? Okay,
Well thought out.
yeah,
Thank you.
In Traver Park, did I miss something there? You referred to Traver Park.
Oh,
I must have missed that. Was there like a ceremony or stuff?
No.
You know, that's one of my
Yeah,
passions.
I know.
all right,
Traffic reports.
Director's report.
I'm gonna cede my time to all in the seat.
Okay,
well, since we last met, we've had some very exciting things happen. We've opened the ice skating rink. We've continually successfully ran our after-school program. We've hired an additional staff member who I've mentioned is starting on Monday, so very exciting to do that. Just a couple of numbers and things here. We've already in the rink season had 8,000, just shy of 1,000 rentals go out. So at 1,000 or at $5 a pair, that's almost close to $5,000. So one of our biggest revenue generation is our state rentals. So we purchased an additional close to 36 sets this fall going into the season, replaced some hockey skates that we had prior from the lagoon and got them all nice matching sets of either hockey or figure skates. So we definitely want to make sure that we continue to replenish that number of skates, since that is one of our biggest drive in our revenue at the rink, which is fantastic. If you haven't been down to the rink, it's gorgeous and lots of photo opportunities. We have been running an ad with Travel Wisconsin, and I have some analytics from that, which was kind of interesting. In the state of Wisconsin, 20,000 additional people have seen at least the ad of Lake Ridge Bank River Rink, which is fantastic. So hopefully we can start to see some more regional push and travel to the facility. Which then left 21,000 impressions on people, which is some of their Facebook metrics. We have 75 people currently signed up for youth basketball, which will start January, and we're ordering jerseys tomorrow.
Where do you play?
Winnetka School. Yes. Winnetka School. So 75 kids there, which is really exciting. And then we're open registration for all of our other winter programs, which is dance, tumbling, and childcare out of school time care.
The lift is significant in getting the skating rink up and running, and so from Dan and Emily, our full-time park staff, to our LTEs that we had a couple stay on a little bit longer this year, to Missy and Jessica out there schlepping boards to get it all set up and ready in time. I think what we've learned is that operationally, the budget is pretty good, good, like we can make this as basically a break-even venture financially. We've had a lot of use, including due to Missy's efforts in securing sponsors, being able to have free community nights on Tuesday nights that are sponsored by different organizations and businesses, and those have been very popular, getting people to the rink for the first time. We have all sorts of ideas about, kind of a redo of GCP and what might be able to make more use in different times of the year, and we'll be bringing those to the board. But year 5, this is year 5 of the skating season, so it makes me happy. The part we received the urban forestry grant for this year, and so if you've seen all the little holes around Winnetka Park, that's kind of finish up stump grinding of the ash trees, and we'll have that reporting done here next week to get that reimbursement. We certainly met our match of $50,000 of total work between contracted services and city time, planting the trees and removing of the ash trees. We've got another, what did I order? 30 trees on order for
40.
Did I do 40?
Yeah,
Okay.
40.
I thought it went down. Anyway, the nursery that we order trees from sends their list out in October, and so I like to try to get the best variety of first options, and so we send it back right away and get that in. And so we'll be looking at, again, whether we want to plant some more trees in Winnetka Park, or if we want to spread them out in some of our park system. That will put us well over 150 trees in the last 3 years, new trees that we put in the system. And so that will be, looking forward to that. That work will be continuing through the winter time with this heat, with the temperatures. it's allowed us to do that, or with lack of snow, we've been able to do that. So we've also, as part of that, done an updated tree inventory in our GIS system into the Winnequa Park and kind of moving on to other parks. And so both of our full-time staff, Dan and Emily, have different strengths. And actually Dan's degree, he has a GIS degree where he can use the software system and plunk it in and put the condition and the species and all of that. So we'll continue to do tree projects over the winter in between kind of ice. You know, the ice for maintenance takes a lot of time during the day, and like Emily's been sharpening skates all week. Dan's been doing, you know, tree stump grinding. We'll come back and start to fill those holes.
Oh.
Reseed. I know. That's a problem. So that's what I got from operationally. We look forward to presenting some of the you know, findings of the trees and the groups that have been participating in that, in the memorial tree program.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the stories are pretty interesting.
Okay.
Missy, you mentioned, you know, the skate rental is good revenue producer, and then Jake, you just mentioned Emily is actually sharpening skates, and so the city is sharpening the skates that you have. I know that my skates need sharpening, and I'd be willing to pay money to have them sharpened, and is that something there's even time for another revenue source?
At this time, no, I mean, the process, we're roughly at like 6 skates an hour to sharpen, so it's not a very fast, efficient process. So I mean, it takes Emily a week to get through like a whole, maybe a week and a half, a whole slate of all of our skates. I don't see how within the rest of the scope of work in the parks and taking care of everything else that we can put that on, because we can't have any of our LTEs just learning on the machine. It does have, it's an expensive machine, it has a lot of moving parts. I don't think it would be the smartest at this point to do it. Originally, when we had our first budget, that was a revenue in back 5 years ago, that was a source of income where we just haven't been able to find the place. And the machine itself takes up a lot of storage, so we're portable from one place to another. So its setup is not conducive for being in the limelight of public view. Unfortunately.
Continue skating on dull skates.
Pure Hockey, a great local
Oh.
business, does start
Right over by
sharpening skates. Yep, right next to Cole.
Yeah.
And it's fairly inexpensive, so we've been
6
talking.
bucks, 6 or
We've been
7
talking
bucks, at
about
least
what
it
is the
was.
cost of sending them out, what's do they have,
Right.
multiple, machines to do a quicker, more effective job than versus
So how
Emily
many are-
doing it.
140, 150 pairs of
Yeah.
rental skates that we have. And we just have a lot of opportunities for them to get dull quicker from concrete, fire pits to metal benches that they, to kids wandering off and the mat, like, there's just found that they tend to get a little duller than what we'd hope.
For comparison, last night was a free skate night. We have right now 10 pairs of every size, from basically youth size 11 all the way to adult size 12. 6, 7, 8, and 9, all last night for 2 hours, were completely out the entire time renting. So there's still demand for more skates, skate use or skate.
Good problem. to have.
We run into our ever, eluding problem of storage. We're max. I mean, I have skates shoved in every crevice of that below deck that you can have them in, and we still don't have enough. So that was at all times 40 pairs of adult size skates out.
That's great.
Great problem to have.
Okay, and I think any updates from the committee or staff on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts? You already talked about that a little bit today.
So we had our free skate nights, which are currently Tuesdays from 6:30 to 8:30 at Lake Ridge Bank River Rink. We've had 2 of them so far next week, and we have the first 3 in January on the books. That is a business or organization sponsors, skate and admission for the night for anyone to come. It's been great. We've seen tremendous numbers. Last night we put a button on halfway through the night to kind of track to see, because before we just come in, come out, we didn't really track numbers. In the hour and a half we had it up last night, it was 75 people came in an hour and a half for a free skate night. And that's after 6:30 when we put the button up to kind of track.
Wow.
So to see first time skaters and new time skaters on the rink is fantastic. We're getting anybody and everybody out there, which is fantastic to see. And it's nice to be able to offer that in partnership with some of the local businesses that are in the area, fronting the bill. So that's great. Paul's Party is another thing that I've been back and forth with, which is trying to get a date on the calendar to have inclusive skating on the rinks. So basically handheld skates, seat skates is what they're called, that people can sit on. So working on the day with Paul's Party to get that on the calendar. And then we have a Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin and Gigi's Playhouse night at the rink on January 3rd, which is a Wednesday night that will be closed to the public to have an all inclusive skate night for individuals with Down syndrome and their families. So that's what we have on the docket currently. EEI efforts.
And just your, the kids who are homeschooled.
Oh, and the homeschool skates
That-
group,
that was
where we
great
added that
program.
onto the skate schedule. So our first homeschool group skate tomorrow. We had a private group reach out to book a spot last week, and they were all very interested in continuing. So now Thursdays from 10 to 2, it's homeschool skate at the rink.
Okay. Updates on San Damiano Steering Committee. We did at our November meeting there. We went through
Oh, no,
we went through a draft of the master plan. And
that'd
should
be
have looked at
Tony.
this beforehand, huh?
Tony.
Oh, Tony, Tony, feel free to join in with any San Damiano updates that you might have.
Sure, Doug. We were both at the last meeting, if I'm correct, right?
Yep.
Um,
I was just trying to remember what the next steps were, but I think overall, everybody was pretty happy with the product. That we've gotten so far. We're gonna have, that's right, public information meeting, but I don't remember the dates.
yeah, that's coming up too, and we're, things are, just from a project timeline perspective, they're a little slowed down just a little bit, just because of trying to really figure out what's going on with this house, right?
Right.
And so that's, just from a high level kind of update, that's, really been the gist of it. And I kind of alluded to that the last meeting that we had. And so Doug, I'm trying to remember exactly, because we did cover a lot in that last meeting. But essentially it's moving forward with the public information meeting. I think I was concerned about the timeline, whether we were going to be able to turn things around quickly enough, but everybody was on board with pushing forward with the timeline that we had. Dan is well prepared. I think the committee has a really good plan to have both options of keeping the house and not keeping the house to move forward. If we get information that says it's too costly, or something falls through, or some new information comes to the fore that makes us go in one way or the other, we're prepared to pivot immediately. Like basically we voted on items or features that we all feel very strongly. There's my cat. He was on my lap earlier. So that I think we all feel really, really good about the fact that there's things that we know that we want for the property, certain things that are going to be included in both whatever version of the property comes to board. So I think all of this is going to fall back on getting all this information out to the public. And I think Wes was really focused on just having answers for the public, the tough questions, the money, all of that, because it's just not simple. It's just, the house is 9,000 square feet, and how old is it? And there's just so much involved with fixing that thing and how you're going to program it. So as you can tell by my rendering talk here, there's just kind of a lot of things that we're still chipping away at. But again, I mean, we have a pretty good set of images and renderings to provide to the public, and just kind of offer them all of these facts and just put it out there for them to kind of get a feel for what we're kind of navigating. And then I think we're banking on some of that input coming back to help guide, kind of where this is going to go.
Yeah, both plans have everything except the question of is it the house or is it a new facility? The rest of it is all common elements to whether it's pathways, parking up by Monona Drive, pods. Yeah.
So are you suggesting that there's a tentative plan in place and it would be either a new building or the house in the same location?
No, the new building would not be at the location of the house.
So it would be a big pivot. Okay, just curious.
Yeah, and Kelly, those were all kind of presented ideas at our last public meeting. We had 3 different renderings, one of keeping the house in the same location, one of a new facility in a different location, and the third one really kind of simplified down with not much of any facilities on site other than support facilities. So the public's had access to kind of a lot of these ideas. We are aware of things that we just don't know. I mean, I bring up every once in a while, like when we put a shovel in the ground, we don't know what we're going to find that may completely change everything, right? And so it's hard to kind of navigate this with so many unknowns, particularly when you have such a big price tag to finish this thing. And so that's why we want to have all of this information kind of ready to put to the public so that they can see kind of how, I don't want to use the word challenging, but like, it is something that is just, it's not an easy yes or no, up and down.
Right, I would just add to that I think we've probably hoped that as we went through the process, one option or the other would fall out and be real obviously disfavored or obviously more favored. And it's like 50-50. So I would envision probably some of the other pieces of the plan being able to be implemented possibly, before the decision's made on the house versus new facility. And the park is going to be included in the limits of TID District number 10. So there will be a possibility of getting TRIP funding for some of the park improvements. All right, that's it.
Do you want Friends update too along with it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So just real quick, we actually have a board meeting tonight. There's the board is some changes that are going on with leadership. Andy Kitzler has been the president. Andy is stepping down and Wes Mosman-Black will be president. Andy will continue to be involved on the board. So right now it will be Wes as president. Andy will continue in some capacity. Other board members include Jen Kerr, she's the treasurer, myself as secretary, Melissa Bedini, Lynn Lazuski, Matt Tremmel, Nancy Morris, ex officio, and Jane Schroeder is hired to help the right hand know what the left hand is doing. Beyond that, there are a lot of volunteers, there's subcommittees, there's a fundraising subcommittee, a communications subcommittee, community engagement subcommittee. I chair community engagement. We have several events on the calendar. Actually, the last event, our gala, was very successful. We sold out. We raised $58,000 from that event. So a learning experience, but ended up to be successful. Our feedback has been good. Next event coming up is the Snow Snake event scheduled for January 26th. So that if we have snow, of course, and Missy and I have met and gone over all the events that are on the calendar right now. There are snowshoes in the garage there too. So if we have snow and have the Snow Snake event, we could maybe give people the opportunity to put some snowshoes on and get out and have some hot chocolate and hot cider and some of those things that we did with our first one. Spring cleanup, Earth Day, that'll be April 20th. The World Migratory Bird Watch, Mary Morrell will lead that again on May 15th. The Harry Whitehorse Wood Carving Festival is from June 14th to the 22nd. There have been a number of grants that have been received to help with that. I think we're over $125,000 in grants that have come in, and it will be a very significant event. There were 22 applicants, artists who applied from all over the world. That has been narrowed down to 12. So those artists have been communicated with, and we're getting confirmation as to who actually will be here. Of those 12, I believe 5 of them are Indigenous artists from different areas. Within that time period on June 18th, there'll be a beer garden type event. The Cashbox Kings from Chicago are the group who's booked for that. Then in July, there'll be a beer garden, July and August beer garden. Music is being looked at right now and trying to look at who will be there. A couple thoughts, maybe do something a little bit different or on the board. One includes, is there a way to maybe do some music that could project out into the water and encourage paddlers to come and listen from out on the lake? So, I'm just trying to look at new ideas that fit in that beautiful setting. We'll also do another gala, most likely September 7th. That it could possibly be the following Saturday, but working on that. Christmas lights, and people who have done that before are in agreement that would be nice to have there. Tim Torino's going to be putting those up again, and that's what's on the calendar.
Might I remind you to look at the prom date?
The prom date yes,
And maybe,
for pictures to
yeah, just be
I'm gonna
aware.
Put this on my notes for our meeting tonight too. Thanks, Cal.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks, Beth.
so if anybody has questions, obviously there will be many volunteer opportunities. So mark your calendars, yeah.
And you have not confirmed those July and August dates yet, correct? You're
they're-
gonna confirm tonight?
Yeah, they're pretty certain.
Okay.
We just have to, we've got to find the music, but yeah,
Perfect.
okay.
All right, anything else? So motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you.
You too, yeah.
Oh, don't put an end, you gotta stop recording.